Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So the devious little libs are at it again. They're going after the president's tax returns. We'll give you the latest there, plus the updates on the legislature. And you really think about the legislature with this initiative bill. If you take a look at the cover of the Statesman today, maybe you've had a chance to look at it. Maybe you're saying, well, Kevin Miller, what are we going to discuss this today? How are we going to wake up on the right side? I'll just say this. This whole initiative bill is, I think it's a grand distraction. I think it's a grand distraction today from the real issues that matter. You've got two ballot initiative bills heading to the governor. And, does anybody really care about the initiative process? We'll discuss that. And really, does it impact you that are maybe working two jobs? Does it impact you that, you want to make sure your kid goes to a good school? Does it really impact us? Or is this a grand distraction by our Idaho politicians? Plus, you also have, again, I don't want to make this the Statesman this morning, but they're yapping a little bit about this whole deal, how Boise has been lobbying to make sure that the urban renew bill dies. Well, we've told you that for the past, however long this urban renewal bill has been rolling. Our friend Mike Moyle had introduced this bill. And when you have the abuses that have happened in the city of Boise, you're going to get people striking back. And I think it's a good thing. But you have the city of Boise lobbying with their liberal acolytes in the legislature saying it's unfair. Well, I think it's unfair when you tax people again and again and again and again and don't allow them to decide how much they want to be taxed. You know the old deal, taxation without representation. But let me start the program by saying bank. Bank is the Kevin Miller Cash code word of the day in the 6 o'clock hour. Remember, listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and 3 p.m. during the Sean Hannity Show. Kevin Miller in the morning, Sean Hannity in the afternoon. And bank is our first word of the day. But back to these grand ideas of this initiative bill. Case in point, when we're talking about initiatives and how should we put this, how irrelevant they are unless you have big money. Unless you have super duper rooper big money, you're not going to get an initiative passed in the state. As I've said, I've challenged people again and again and again to name me the last time an initiative passed without major financing. And for me, I kind of like what Senator Groh said. Now, Senator Groh, somebody said, hey, he wants to talk to you. He was supposed to reach out. He didn't. That's fine. He's a busy guy. But when you see Medicaid expansion coming in, when you see everything else coming in, because you got big money, liberal self-interest behind it, well, I think that's an issue. So here is my point why you don't need this idea of initiatives. The concealed carry bill was passed. Our friend, Representative Christy Zitto, came in. She wanted to have, people that were 18 to 21 be allowed to conceal carry without having to go through the process, just like they can throughout the state. That has become state law. You go back to Greg Pruitt and the beginning of the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. We've come a long way with gun rights. And it's not like the legislature goes, yes, we're pro-guns. It took a lot of work, but there was no initiatives. They worked their way through the legislature. And the people that were anti-gun, they were unmasked, to use an Obama term, and they were exposed. And now they're no longer in the legislature. We'll talk more about that coming up. Let's go to Jim in Middleton with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Not bad, and you?
Just right.
Good. Just right. I like that. Just right.
Kevin, you started off this morning with with Prop 2 that and all the chaos that's surrounding that. And I'm going to give Patty Ann Lodge a call. She's my representative here in Middleton. But, Kevin, they need to scrap it. And they need to send a message. If you're going to bring a bill up, advertise a bill for A, B, and C, and this is what it's going to do, and it doesn't, then the bill, it just needs to just go away. And I don't think this is going to happen. But the people that advertise the bill or advertise Prop 2 as money savings to individuals and the state, they need to be held accountable, Kevin. We need to kind of change the narrative and what have you, because we're talking about this and we're talking about all the problems, and they're wanting to put in work requirements and what have you and so forth. That's not how it was sold to the people, okay? So we need to turn this thing around, shove it in their face, and say, listen, you lied. This was an abortion from the beginning. So we can't put this into law because we don't have the money. The money's not coming from outside sources and so forth. But anyway, I think a lot of people need to call the representatives and demand better from government. Let's just talk about, how bad the bill is and what have you, and say, hey, listen, this was advertised falsely, and you fool people, you lie to people, and that's called fraud, Kevin. And you can't do that in the private sector. You know that. You do that, you're out of business or you're in jail.
Well, it would be nice to have truth in advertising, would it not?
Well, yeah, Kevin, and it's more than just truth in advertising. Okay, again, in a private sector, that's called fraud. Okay, if you pull up to your favorite fast food restaurant and you say, I want a number 2 and I want 10 McNuggets, and they say, okay, you want to go big? And okay, all right, sir, that'll be $7.95 at the checkout window. Kevin, you pull up to the checkout window, then they say, yours $20, you got 2 chicken McNuggets. Okay? That is what this is, Kevin. There's no difference. So it's called fraud. Not just, it's criminal, Kevin. That's the point I'm trying to make.
No, I would agree with you. And, we brought this up, Jim. Why don't our crime-fighting legislators shoot down Medicaid expansion like they did with term limits?
Well, I agree. I don't like the fact that they can shoot it down, Kevin, just because they want to. They should shoot it down because it was falsely advertised. What it was supposed to do, it's not going to do. That's the reason they should shut it down. And I didn't know, Kevin, that our legislators pushed aside the term limits here. I was ignorant of that. So you mentioned it the other morning. That's another thing that needs to be addressed. Okay, these people have way too much power, and everything that our representatives do, unfortunately, Kevin, they do not do it for the good of the people. They do it for the good of their power base and themselves.
Jim, we appreciate the call. And finally, what do you make of this initiative controversy?
Are you talking about Prop 2 now?
No, the initiative bill that that would reform the way the initiatives are. Instead of giving you 18 months, you get 6 months to get enough signatures on the ballot. You have to go to more districts, that sort of thing. That seems to be what everybody is their attention is focused on. And I'm going, I don't know if that is the way that we should roll on that one. You know what I mean?
Kevin, I don't know enough about that to make a comment, and I don't want to pretend I know what I'm talking about. But that is the one that it makes it harder.
Right.
Yeah. Kevin, I don't know enough yet to make an intelligent decision or even just to speak about it right now. But anyway, Kevin, listen, you have a great day, and thanks for having the show and having us on there with you.
I'm blessed to be with you. Thank you, Jim. You take care.
I will, Kevin. Have a good morning.
Okay, bye-bye. I love hearing from Jim from Middleton. We would love for you to join the conversation. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here, going over some of our top stories. We've got the legislature talking about this initiative bill. And by the way, congratulations to Greg Pruitt, Representative Zito, Representative Giddings, and everyone else who approved and put through that bill lowering the age in cities that people can conceal and carry. The governor signed that into law, so that will take effect, I believe, in July when all new state laws take effect. At least that's been my experience. We're still debating Medicaid expansion. Oh, how exciting. And really, if we didn't want to deal with it, they would term limit it, which is, if you don't know this, earlier on, I think it was in the mid-'90s, you had a citizen-led initiative on the ballot. The Idaho politicians were term limited, and then the legislature, according to the Constitution, voted to blow it up. And guess what? They blew it up. Of course, that wasn't discussed with Medicaid expansion. And as Jim has said, we had all these television commercials, radio commercials. Hey, you're going to get free money. The government owes Idaho, when in fact we get more than we give the government. But the people that were opposed to Prop 2, they didn't get a chance to get that message out, didn't have the big money. So you have concerned lawmakers saying, look, not so fast, my liberal progressive friends. This ain't Oregon. This ain't California. What we're going to do is make it a little harder to get initiatives on the ballot. Look, we had one of the second only, I think it was even bigger than the last governor's race. And I'm not talking about the general election. I'm talking about the primary between Raul Labrador, Brad Little, and Tommy Ahlquist. It was bigger than that. That was the education issues, Prop 1, 2, and 3. And you had the legislature pass these initiatives. Everybody didn't like it. So you had big money special interests, and you had a lot of hardworking people. They got it on the ballot, and they got those things thrown out, those state laws thrown out on education. Boom. But there was big money behind it. So do you really need big money to make a difference? No, look at the gun issue and what Greg Pruitt has done. We'll talk about it next. Kevin Miller, you're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And I'm Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number's 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Repeating our top national story, those wacky, zany libs formally request Donald Trump's tax returns. Heard Sean Hannity talking a little bit about this. We'll get to this, but why in the... Well, we know that. The Mueller report was done. It was a giant dud. So instead of moving on, instead of getting the country rolling, instead of having a unified front against all the bad people that want to do us harm, we've got those devious little libs in the House going after Mr. Trump, President Trump's tax returns. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, your phone calls, because you matter right here on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Kevin. Two things I would like to say. Making the initiative process, I won't say more difficult, but make it more representative of the rural parts of Idaho. I think that's a good idea. Raising the number of districts from 18 to 24, they have to at least go to a few of the rural districts to get some signatures, and I think that will help. Secondly, I would like to thank my representative, Christy Zito, and Greg Pruitt and others for getting the concealed carry bill for 18 to 21-year-olds. I would like to welcome the 18 to 21-year-olds to the ranks of full responsible citizens and remind them that the Second Amendment is a serious right for serious people. Get training, read the law, realize you are now responsible when you're caring for everything you do with that firearm. That's lethal force. It's very serious. It's an excellent way to protect yourself, but you are responsible. You got to be responsible. Welcome to the ranks. And thanks to the people that made that possible.
Pete, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you and KIDO for providing a forum for those of us who are not devious little libs.
Well, we're trying to protect everybody from the DLL. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Mark in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Kevin. How are you doing?
Not bad for so early in the day. What do you make of this initiative, Bill?
Well, I'm a little off topic.
Well, that's okay. It's been that way.
I was going to call about our good friend, Bear Beater.
Sure, go ahead.
You had a fellow on yesterday talking about, I think he came from California, and he was talking about how they had rolled back their property taxes to what the amount was when they originally bought their home. Well, we built our house in 1998, and at that time, our taxes on our house here in Boise were just under $5,000. This year, they're over $8,000. I think we ought to do a couple things. First of all, I think we ought to be kind to Mayor Beater and really support his initiatives. And one is, do you think that the city probably provides a car for him?
I don't know. I've personally just seen him on a bicycle, so I couldn't tell you.
Well, I think we ought to see him on a bicycle more often. If he has a car, I think we ought to buy him a bright, shiny, brand new bike and let him ride it 365 days a year, just so he knows we're behind him. But as far as, I'm all for, as far as reducing or eliminating the grocery tax. But boy, I tell you, if we could do anything with our property taxes, they keep going up and up and up. He sits around and dreams up these ideas to where he fouled up all the traffic downtown with the bike lanes and everything. And now we're spending $8,000 to be kind. I think we can find, if he sits around all the time dreaming up these great ideas, which apparently this is what he's spending his time doing. The other thing too, I believe he was an attorney before he was our mayor, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. This guy can't even complete a good sentence. I think that's why he has a spokesperson. We never hear from him. It's always somebody else talking about what he wants to do and so forth. But
well, when there's good news, he's at the ribbon cutting. He's talking about how great things are.
Yeah, he takes credit for all this growth in Boise. I think the growth in Boise is happening in spite of him. So I think we ought to get some kind of initiative to see if we can't get rid of Mayor Beater. I mean, is this the best we can do, really?
I like the campaign slogan. Is this the best we can do?
Yeah, because if this is the best we can do, I'm sure we could find somebody. I think this is sometimes why people don't run for office, is because we don't get the best. I think we get the best of what's left.
Right. Sometimes you get what you want. Sometimes you get what you need.
Well, I'm not getting what I want, and all I get every year is I look at my property taxes. They keep going up and up and up. I'm retired now, and we did pay off our house a few years ago, but it just seems like, goodness sakes, I can remember when I didn't pay $8,000 a year for mortgage payments.
Well, I go back to this, and the city of Boise, unfortunately, has not been well served by its mayor, by its liberal city council, and there needs to be some type of restoring of the order in the city of Boise because, you remember Mayor Beater during the refugee thing. We're a welcoming city, which is code. You've got Mayor Beater with the trolley, with the big money he spent to get a Boise PR firm money so people would learn how to use the trash cans. Now you've got $8,000 a month going to Be Kind. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It doesn't represent the people. And my personal favorite with Mayor Beater and the liberal city council in the city of Boise was when they passed a non-binding resolution that had nothing to do with it. It was way out of their sphere of influence, endorsing Obamacare.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I just sit around and I just think, man, I was in business for 35 years running my own company. And I thought, if I had an employee like this, and these were the ideas that they were throwing up to me, I'd say, what in the world are you thinking about? This idea about refugees welcome, I think a lot of these refugees we're welcoming too are all these liberals that are coming in from California.
Agreed. I would say that. And, when the libs come in, you look at what's coming to town.
This guy's been in for 16 years, and he's running again. Haven't we had enough?
What else would he do?
I don't care what he would do. I mean, we could find something to do. Maybe he could start training for a marathon or something, or go become a professional bike racer, because this is just getting ridiculous. And like I say, too, listen to him speak. I mean, an orator. If he was an attorney, I can't imagine if I was trying to be defendant that he was up there trying to defend me. He'd have to bring his spokesperson in. Anyway, it gets me all amped up, and it's a good way to wake up in the morning. But every time I hear anything about what this guy's coming up with, and I mean, $8,000 or $80,000, what are we spending for this crazy kind initiative?
Right, $8,000, or I'm sorry, I think it's $80,000 a year, $6,500 a month. Yeah,
$80,000. Is that the best use of our funds? And the other things too, these, the stadium and the new library and all these things. Well, sure, but a lot of the people that are for this, they're not paying the property taxes. We are. They don't understand that all these things cost money. They sound like super great ideas. Everybody gets on the bandwagon, rooting for it and so forth. But all we end up with is more money out of our pocket. Anyway, Kevin, hey, I've taken a lot of your time. I really appreciate what you're doing, but let's see if we can't come up with if this is the best we can do, let's see if we can't do better.
Mark, thank you. Enjoy your retirement, brother.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, the devious little libs are after the president's tax returns. A new hemp bill emerges, and back to this initiative thing. Is this much ado about nothing? By the way, we still have not forgotten our pledge to you to continue to remind the state legislatures that, look, repeal the grocery tax. Repeal the grocery tax. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. To the phones, joined now by, is it Rachel Sutherland? Hello?
It's John Decker.
Oh, you know something, John? My bad. Ray Amaya told me who it was, and the hearing must be going, but I would never, ever confuse the two of you, so I apologize. How are you?
No, I'm well. How are you doing today?
Still employed. John Decker joining us, Fox News Radio, from the White House, exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Big news. You've got the Democrats in the House very upset looking at the president's tax returns. The president vows that he will fight on. It's cliche to even describe this, John Decker. Your thoughts being at the epicenter of it all.
Well, this is going to be problematic for the president. I think that this is one instance where the president will likely lose in his effort to prevent his tax returns for the past 6 years, personal and business tax returns, be seen by at least the House Ways and Means Committee chairman. Now, the chairman is Richard Neal. He's a Democrat. And what he's relying on in making this request to the IRS is a very little-known IRS tax law in seeking the president's tax returns. It grants the House Ways and Means Committee chairman, also it grants the Senate Finance Committee chairman, the power to request tax information on any filer. No exceptions, not even the President of the United States. So I would imagine what is going to happen here is that the president is going to have to personally sue to prevent the IRS from complying with this request.
Right. It is interesting that now, again, we've gone from the Mueller report to this to everything else. Will we see more of this type of investigation, of this more type probing into the president's background, do you believe, John?
Well, Democrats have been threatening this, and now, of course, Democrats control the House of Representatives. So, absolutely, to answer your question. But this is not, a simple request or a subpoena. This is based upon what's in the tax code, what's in the law. And that's the reason why I say the president, I think, is ultimately going to lose this battle to have his tax returns kept private. Now, he maintains that his tax returns are under audit. That's part of the request. Mr. Neal wants to find out if indeed Mr. Trump's tax returns are or have been under audit by the IRS.
It's a bit an interesting question, and I don't know if we cross the realm into your other occupation as an attorney, but I mean, does the president have a right to privacy when it comes to his personal tax returns?
You show me where the right to privacy, that actual right exists in the U.S. Constitution, right? So, unfortunately, no. That's what you have to base legal arguments on. You have to base them on the law. You have to base them on what is written under, in this particular case, federal law, or what's contained in the Constitution. And there's nothing that I see so far in terms of the request that's been made to the IRS that would prevent the IRS from turning over the president's tax returns for the past 6 years over to the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee.
John Decker joining us. John, you go back to this. What are they, I guess, going from reporting to analysis here, what are they hoping to discover that they would want to do this? And I understand it was very frustrating during the campaign, and it continues to be a source of frustration for some. But is it an objective issue, or is it a partisan issue, or is there a real belief that they're missing something, that they need these things?
So let me read to you a little bit of what Mr. Neal said in his letter to the IRS. He says that this request is in the interest of ensuring, these are his words, the accountability of our government and elected officials. He also said his request is about policy, not politics. And I've always maintained when you have to write something like that, it's not about policy, it's about politics. And this is indeed about politics. This is an effort to embarrass the president in some manner. I don't have any doubt about it. I don't know what the embarrassment is because I haven't seen the president's tax returns. I don't know whether it would be the fact that, the possibility that the president's net worth is lower than he's said in the past. I don't know if it's about whether the president has given little to charity. We don't know. No one has seen his tax returns. So to me, this is indeed about politics, despite what the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee says. But you know what? In the law that's contained that he's relying on, the intent of the House Ways and Means Committee is not an issue. You don't have to claim the intent is for, purposes that will, in his words, provide more information about accountability of our elected officials. Nor will this be denied because the IRS says this is for nefarious purposes. The law is the law, and if he requests them, the IRS is obligated to turn them over.
John Decker, we could go on, but you're very busy at the White House. We appreciate you, brother.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you real soon.
Yes, sir. Take care, John.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Love having John Decker on. KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:42. Don't forget, KIDO Talk Radio, your place to win Kevin Miller's cash. Win up to $5,000 by listening at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. during the Kevin Miller Show, and 3 p.m. during the Sean Hannity Show. Your chance to win up to $5,000. Details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. This just in, a couple of things, and we are doing our very best here to keep you updated on the issues that matter to you, and one having to do with the president and his tax returns. You heard about this, where you have the devious little libs going after the president and his tax returns. Now, does it really matter to anybody that the president did not disclose his tax returns? Is this something that we all want to know about? Well, we need to know. What's he hiding? I don't know. Let's go back to President Barack Obama. And President Obama decided not to take matching campaign funds. And you're thinking to yourself, well, Kevin Miller, what's the big deal about matching campaign funds? Like when the federal government matches your campaign stuff? Well, then you don't have to disclose the donors. Then you don't have to disclose just how many people are actually donating to your campaign and where they're from, right? And where they're from. So you could possibly, and I will say, in my opinion, to cover myself legally, have had foreign entities donating to the Obama campaign. I think they were dinged for that. But if you accept matching funds in a presidential campaign, then the FCC or the FEC or the SEC has to disclose, you have to disclose all your donors, because the feds match, I think, is it 100 million or 100,000? No, it's not more than 100,000. But they match it. But you have to disclose who donated to your campaign. But if you do not accept the matching funds, if you do not accept the big money, well, then you don't have to disclose. And nobody went after Obama. Thanks, Obama. Nobody went after Obama. Thanks, Obama. But they sure as heck are going after Donald Trump. Now you have the devious little libs in the media, a two-pronged attack to try and, again, get this president out of office. You know he's doing a good job based on the fact that the libs are out to get him. Number one, they're after his tax returns again. We'll talk about. Number two, rapid, wild speculation that the Mueller report reveals a shocking blockbuster revelations that could unhinge the Trump administration. Yeah, right. Are you kidding me? Remember, the Mueller report was supposed to take down Donald Trump? That didn't happen. By the way, George Papadopoulos joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. Victor Davis Hanson joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. Big guests. Thank you, Ray Amaya, for booking those guys. joining us right here in the Treasure Valley. So let's get to the House Democratic thing that John Decker talked about. House Democrats have sent their long-anticipated request for 6 years of President Trump's tax returns to the Internal Revenue Service, opening up the first shot in what could be an explosive battle between the Democrats and the Trump administration over the president's personal finances that is expected to wind up in the courts. So, again, Mueller failed. The wall failed. The budget failed. These are all things that they put up against this president. So now we're going to go after his tax returns. Once again, true believers, this is why good people don't run for office. Why do you want to have your personal tax returns shown to the entire public? Let's take a look at Hillary Clinton and her tax returns, little buddy. Let's take a look at the Clinton Foundation. Oh, that's right. It was a conservative think tank author that exposed all the awful shenanigans of the Clinton Cache Foundation, the Clinton Cache cartel. But Donald Trump, well, we need to go after him. So here you have it. Richard Neal, Democrat, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, has requested 6 years of Trump's personal and business tax information from 2013 to 2018, including individual returns and returns from 8 businesses linked to the president. He also asked whether any of them have been or under audit, and they want all the information to be delivered to Capitol Hill within a week. Look, you've got the enormity of keeping the world safe, running the world's largest economy, keeping up with the devious little libs, trying to secure the border, and now you have to worry about this? Again, this is what they try to do. By the way, liberal Neal said the decision to request the returns was in the interest of ensuring the accountability of our government and elected officials. To maintain trust in our democracy, the American people must be assured that their government is operating properly as the law intends. Boy, that sounds like the Mueller report, doesn't it not? Coming up, we will take your phone calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, concerning the devious little liberals' attempt to go after the President of the United States one more time. And not only that, we're going to take a look at something else. And this is, once again, the issue of getting rid of the Electoral College. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, right? Where we took a look at getting rid of the Electoral College, where the people want to say, well, it's one state or one person, one vote. Well, you can go to 5 states and you don't have to come to Idaho, right? So a lot going on this morning. You're listening to Kevin Miller on your home for Sean Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. And I'm Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So before we get to Joe, do you want, well, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe this will be a little fun. We'll have a little Joe Biden action. Joe Biden is under fire, under siege. People are mad at Uncle Joe. Apparently, Uncle Joe has been, how should we put this? Uncle Joe has been getting the free samples from the young ladies, and they don't like it. Of course, it's kind of strange that all of a sudden people are going after Joe Biden right now, and we know why they're going after Joe Biden, because he's the biggest threat to the Democratic progressive liberal agenda. Heck, Joe Biden was Barack Obama's vice president, the most liberal president that we've ever had in this country, but that is not good enough. That is not good enough. They want crazy Bernie. Get rid of the Electoral College. We'll get to that in a minute. A lot going on here this morning. Let's go to Joe Biden, and Uncle Joe wants everybody to know that, well, he's sorry.
Today I want to talk about gestures of support and encouragement that I've made to women and some men that have made them uncomfortable. And I always tried to be, in my career, I've always tried to make a human connection. That's my responsibility, I think. I shake hands, I hug people, I grab men and women by the shoulders and say, you can do this. And whether they're women, men, young, old, it's the way I've always been. It's the way I've tried to show I care about them and I'm listening.
There you have it. Joe Biden says he's listening. Now, what I don't understand is, what's wrong with being a hugger? Apparently now some men are saying Joe gave them a hug and he didn't like it. A lot of people, there's some people in life, they just don't like to be touched. They just don't like to be hugged. They just don't like it when you grab your neck. You ever been around somebody like that? Maybe somebody at work, somebody at home, maybe it's a relative, maybe it's somebody that thinks they're closer to you than they are. And it doesn't have to be a person of the opposite sex, somebody that goes, hello there, good buddy. And they start like massaging your traps. Please don't massage my traps. You know, the muscle in between your neck and your shoulders. And they hug you from behind or what have you. I'm not down with that. But this is ridiculous going after Joe Biden for touching people inappropriately. The Me Too movement, sometimes takes itself way. And what's the hashtag now with Joe Biden? Anyway, we could go on and on about that. Another serious threat to our democracy that you need to be made aware of here on KIDO Talk Radio. And this comes down to the Electoral College. And as we first disclosed to you a couple of days ago, and the national folks have picked up on this, is you have, again, a liberal progressive agenda to get rid of the Electoral College. Do you ever notice when you're talking to the libs that life isn't fair? That America, the greatest country on God's green earth, that you can live the American dream, that you can come up from nothing and have everything and make a charitable contribution that one time used to be tax deductible, is a bad country. We've been wronged. And we're all victims, right? I can remember one time when I first came here as a broken Kevin Miller. Some people say you're still broke, but at least you ain't woke, right? And you go through life, and I remember reading a book, and it was about a person that had been wronged. And I kept reading the book, and the theme in it was that everybody hosed this person over. And he was a guy, he was a famous guy. He's a famous professional wrestler. And I was very sympathetic to this young man. And then after a while, I'm going, my goodness gracious, does this person not have a responsibility for their life, for their success, for their failures? And you don't have to be Tony Robbins or Kevin Miller or Russell Brunson or Nathan Barry or whomever to get that we are responsible. That is the hardest thing to say. It's not them, it's me. But when you look at the libs, when you hear their propaganda, oh, Hillary Clinton should have won. We need to get rid of the Electoral College because, by gosh, those founding fathers were bad founding fathers. They only gave us, through the grace of God, the most incredible experiment in not only Western civilization, but in the history of mankind, right? That's where we are, brothers and sisters. And here you have people openly talking about decriminalizing illegal aliens coming in. I don't know if you caught this last night. Tucker Carlson, Fox News Channel. Julian Castro, a going-nowhere candidate, at one time the cabinet secretary under Obama, now wants to decriminalize people coming into this country illegally. That's right. Illegally. So it would not be a crime to come into this country illegally. Well, what does that mean? As Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity were talking about yesterday afternoon on KIDO Talk Radio, it would be perfect because you could turn Texas. Why do you think there's been so many competitive races now? Because they're looking at turning Texas. Castro's new agenda, calling People First immigration policy, would allow people to come into this country and decriminalize you entering the country illegally, probably giving them the right to vote. Heck, we would have more people in China within 10 years. You look at that, brothers and sisters, and this is not our country anymore. Heck, in some neighborhoods in Idaho, it's not our country anymore. We've got to fight to keep it safe. More coming up on your home for Fox News, the home of Kevin Miller and keeping the Electoral College, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.